I'm here with Mike Fritz, who is the Chief Technology Officer
Correct.
of Human Powered Solutions. The reason why we're talking to Mike Fritz today is he is the undisputed expert on electric battery or electric bike fire safety. He has over 50 years experience in the industry, and over 25 of that has been specifically within electric bikes. So he is a mechanical engineer by training. He sits on the technical subcommittees for testing laboratories such as Underwriter Laboratories and SAE. He's a member of the National Fire Prevention Association. When e-bike fires happen, he is the one that's consulted by manufacturers to investigate why they happened. And he also consults with fire departments. So, for example, whenever there's a fire in New York City, he consults with FDNY in order to figure out why it happened and what can be done to prevent them in the future. So, Mike Fritz is the undisputed expert that you want to talk to when you're talking about e-bike fire safety. So we're happy to be talking with him today. Let's just start off with how big of a concern is e-bike fires?
It's huge. I mean, you know, the loss of life, loss of property, it's been a significant problem. As your constituency is well aware, New York City has been the epicenter of this crisis, and it's been the focus not only of firefighting and fire prevention professionals, but it's also the focus of our industry, because clearly we are invested in the success of electric bikes as a viable element of the transportation infrastructure moving forward. There's a lot of good things about electric bikes and electric mobility, and we don't want this issue to hinder the proliferation of these fabulous products into society, because there's a lot of benefit associated with using them. I like to draw the analogy that lithium-ion batteries are very much like gasoline. Gasoline has got hundreds of times more energy density than does a lithium-ion battery, and when gasoline's latent energy is released in an uncontrolled fashion, it's catastrophic. But we've learned how to tame gasoline. I go to sleep every night with 2 cars in my garage, and I sleep like a baby. My lithium-ion batteries, on the other hand, are safely stored in a partially discharged condition, and they've been well cared for during the course of their lives. But I guess the point I'm making is, when properly used and maintained, lithium-ion batteries are as safe as any other energy storage methodology available to us. But when they're not properly used, when they're not properly charged, when they're abused or damaged in some fashion, they can be dangerous. And we want to raise awareness relative to those issues so that people do the right thing to enhance and maintain their safety. Long answer to your short question, sorry.
That's a great answer, because I think it's important to be honest about the situation. There's a real issue to address, and it needs to be done responsibly, right?
Exactly.
We shouldn't be hand-waving this away. So to that point, I know that there are a lot of standards out there. For example, I know a lot of customers might know about Underwriter Laboratories, or UL 2849,
Yep,
2271. There's a lot of numbers and acronyms out there. Can you just explain to sort of the general public what those standards mean,
Certainly.
what they do?
Certainly.
Maybe not the technical details of everything, but just what should they generally know about them?
Lithium-ion batteries, like any product, there's a spectrum of quality. There are unscrupulous manufacturers and suppliers that take shortcuts in the production process. They utilize components that are built into a cylindrical cell that are not up to standards. They're prone to failure, and when they fail catastrophically. What the standards do is the standards set the benchmark, if you will, for quality components and quality manufacturing processes that goes into the production of not only the lithium-ion cell, but the battery pack that we utilize to group those cells in such a fashion that we can use them for practical purposes. So the standards essentially set the limits, if you will, of construction and quality, and adherence to the standards go a long way to ensuring that you're going to have a safe product.
Do you have any data as far as, so we know that e-bike fires have happened, absolutely. Do you have any data as far as what the distribution between UL certified batteries versus non-certified? I know that's only one component in a safe system,
Yep.
but what's sort of the relative risk that we're talking about here?
You raise a very important point, and it also points out a certain deficiency with respect to our total understanding of the statistics associated with these issues. The main problem that we see, and it's probably at the root of the problem in New York City, is that a lot of substandard batteries come in on e-bikes at very low price points. Just to explain it from an original equipment standpoint, I've spent a lot of years designing, developing, and sourcing electric bicycles, working directly with the manufacturers, not only of the bikes and the propulsion systems, but also the batteries. And I know from experience that at OE, in other words, the price that a manufacturer will pay to a supplier, a quality lithium-ion battery pack can cost between $300 and $350. That's OE.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. To do it right,
yeah.
You're using quality components, sourcing from quality manufacturers. These battery packs go through testing and certification. They're the best that they can be. And if the price is $300 at OE, generally speaking, in the bicycle world, you can generally take the OE cost of a product and triple it to learn the retail cost with the profit margins and the costs associated with distribution and marketing and sales and all the rest of it. You can generally take the price of a product, a component, and triple it, and you'll know what it is at retail. Some of these bikes that are coming into the country are selling for as little as $600, $650. If you've got a $300 battery pack in there and you triple it, you should know the battery pack alone should be $900 worth of that retail value.
Yep.
And if you're selling the bike for $600, there's a gross disparity in terms of the quality of that pack. New York City was kind of is at the forefront of the e-bike delivery world. Mm-hmm. We have a fantastic
Hoboken as well.
Hoboken as well. We have a fantastic group in New York City. They're organized as the Los Deliveristas.
Yep.
And these guys are not high-income individuals. They're working hard to eke out a living, so they can't afford, in many cases, a battery or a bike that is equipped with a quality product. Coupled with that, you find them putting these things through very severe service. I mean, the streets of New York City are not ideal by any situation, and you know, these bikes and batteries are used 8-12 hours a day. They're recharged multiple times per day. They're in some of the harshest environmental conditions you can imagine. So you're taking an already poor quality product and putting it through some of the most severe service that it could endure. That is a formula for disaster. And then couple that with the fact that just from their living situation, they end up bringing their bikes and their batteries to their apartment and charging them overnight so that they're ready to go to work the next morning. That is a formula for disaster. And what we want to do, and what FDNY and New York City has been doing, is trying to raise awareness of ways to alleviate that situation, and we're working closely with them in an effort to find practical solutions, affordable solutions that will mitigate the hazard. And you're aware that the fire chief of FDNY just recently announced that there's been a significant decrease in the frequency of these fires, even within the Los Deliveristas community, which is really good news. It basically says it's working.
Okay, so somebody, they've bought an e-bike, they bought something that is produced to high standards from a reputable brand. They bring it home to their apartment. So I live in Hoboken, New Jersey. It's similar to maybe what you'd think of as Brooklyn. Jersey City is also very similar. These are high-rise apartments, 5/1s. It's a dense urban environment. You bring this device into your apartment to store it. What should a person do? Like, what should they do to sleep well at night? Know that there's not going to be an explosion happening in their living room at night.
Very, very excellent question, Andrew, and it's a very relevant question. And there are a number of things that you want to make sure that you do with your battery pack. One is buy a certified product. First and foremost, buy a UL certified product, both 2849 for the entire electric bike. That's first and foremost. So you've got a safe product. Treat it well in the sense that you want to be careful with your pack. You don't want to drop it. You don't want to ever immerse it. You don't want to leave it in a hot car, for example. Temperature is the enemy of a lithium-ion battery pack, so you've got to be careful in that regard. What is critically important is that you use the battery charger that was supplied with the battery pack. A lot of people will buy several different chargers to use, one at the office or one at their place of work and one at home. Only use the battery charger that came with the bike, or buy an identical charger for your second use.
So a lot of this is
common sense,
right?
Common sense.
So I like to think of it as treat it almost like you would a space heater. right? So don't plug it into a circuit with a bunch of other things. Don't stack a bunch on top of each other. Don't charge it unattended for extended periods. Don't let it freeze. Don't put it out, in the middle of the hottest day of the year. And if you follow those general guidelines, you're going to be pretty safe, right? That's a safe system.
I've been in the business 25 years. I've been dealing with these bikes. Needless to say, I've gone through a lot of electric bikes during the course of my career. I've never had a fire.
Yeah.
But I'm always assure myself that I've got a safe pack. I always assure myself that I'm taking care of it properly. One thing that you didn't mention, and probably will, is what about storage? What about long-term storage? Mm-hmm. And our recommendations there are, if you're going to go on vacation or you're not going to use your electric bike during the winter months, we recommend you discharge it to about 30% state of charge. That may be 2 bars on your 5-bar LED indicator. You store it in a cool, dry place, away from flammable materials, and periodically, maybe once every 3rd month or so, charge it for 30 minutes to keep it from falling too deep in terms of its discharge. But with proper guidelines and awareness of these important issues, it's as safe as any other appliance in your house. A toaster.
Yeah. I wouldn't leave a toaster unattended either.
No,
right?
Exactly.
Let's talk about policy to an extent. So, New York City, we've seen some regulations come about specifically in regards to fire safety.
Yes.
Jersey City, they have an ordinance that they passed last year that will be going into effect this year. Hoboken has been considering some legislation as well. Starting off, what is the legislation that you've seen that has worked well?
New York City is at the forefront. The New York City legislation basically requires certified product. You cannot legally sell a product that does not have UL 2849 certification in the city of New York. The other thing is they're regulating bike shops quite aggressively, because bike shops have a tendency to, irresponsible bike shops have a tendency to, basically build walls of battery packs all on separate chargers that might not be matched to the battery pack that the charger came with. They're plugged into extension cords. They're stacked on plywood shelves that are obviously flammable. There's been a lot of reckless implementation of this technology in New York City, and both FDNY and the New York City Police Department have had a very aggressive program to crack down on that, and it's working. Mm-hmm. They've done a fantastic job of reducing the frequencies of these fires, and when you consider the scenario, Los Deliveristas riding relatively inexpensive bikes that may not be as safe as a properly constructed bike, that's a tremendous accomplishment. And we anticipate that there's going to be more regulation coming out, because this problem is not unique to New York City. The Consumer Product Safety Commission, a federal agency, is on the cusp of being required by Congress to generate lithium-ion battery safety requirements and electric bike safety requirements that they will promulgate, that will be preemptive and will cover the entire country. It'll be a federal mandate. Now, that's probably still a couple of years away, but a key part of the legislation that we anticipate is the fact that they will require certification to UL safety standards. It's worked in New York City, and New York City is the worst problem at this juncture. If it works there, it should work everywhere.
We've also seen things from New York City regarding battery buyback programs, like trade-in systems.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on those?
That's a mixed bag. Number one,
these are expensive batteries.
Number one, they're expensive batteries, and expense is one of the downsides. But in terms of the effectiveness of that program, that would be wonderful. If we could get that cheap stuff off the street and put high-quality batteries in the hands of every bicycle messenger in New York City, that would virtually eliminate the problem almost overnight, assuming that they also embrace the cautions and warnings and policies that you need to keep your safe batteries safe over time. But that would be fantastic. But there are issues associated with cost, obviously. Where are those good batteries going to come from? There's an issue associated with compatibility. There's a plethora, a wide range of connectors that are integrated into the bike that actually connect the battery to the bike's electrical system. You know, how we're going to standardize that is going to be a significant challenge. And then just, you know, the distribution modality, how do we do that? And a lot of these list deliveristas will have 5 and 6 battery packs because that's what they need to get them through a workday. So there's a lot of obstacles to that, the implementation of that, but the concept in and of itself is fantastic.
New York City is a model that has been working pretty well. They're off to a really good start. The problem isn't fully eliminated, but the data that I've seen coming from the FDNY is 80% reduction throughout the first year of their updated standards. What we've seen in Hoboken and Jersey City, at least proposals and regulations that haven't gone into effect yet, we've seen proposals to outright ban the in-unit storage of any bicycle, electric bicycle. What are your thoughts on that? Would you support that? What are your thoughts?
No. There's e-bikes have got so much to offer. You know, in terms of recreation, I mean, we enable people that couldn't ride a regular bike to enjoy cycling again, and that's really important. But their use is a practical transportation modality in our infrastructure is incredible. You know, fitness, reduction in pollution, reduction in traffic, alleviation of all the parking problems associated with driving your car into town and finding a place to park, the expense. You know, there are other safety implications of that, and clearly there are other agencies working on it. Just the intermix of bicycles and traffic, you know, the safety of the cyclist needs to be considered. But under no circumstances should e-bikes be banned. The potential upside, the benefit to society is significant. We want to see e-bike utilization and proliferation grow exponentially. Clearly, I have a vested interest in it. I'm in the industry. You know, you always want to see your industry thrive, but the benefits truly outweigh the hazards, and we're doing everything that we can to mitigate those hazards at the present time.
So we've talked about what the bike industry is doing. We've talked about what the consumer can do on their own. We've talked about some successful government policy that can help kind of fill in the gaps on that. But ultimately, we want to make sure that people can still buy bikes, use them responsibly,
yes,
help them
store them safely.
Yeah, they help your life.
Yep.
I have an e-bike. I love it. It
Good.
helps me get places I need to go without having to have a car. So is there anything else you'd like to, maybe specifically to a city council or you know, someone who's thinking about this from a policy standpoint?
Sure.
They're scared. And what would you like to tell them right now?
Ask us for help. You know, clearly uninformed regulation or reactionary regulation doesn't help anybody. It's important that before these requirements and these regulations are drafted and approved and implemented, that you understand the totality of the issue, and you understand that the issues that you're addressing can be mitigated by other ways. An outright ban doesn't help anybody. You know, work with the industry, work with companies like us, work with me. I'm happy to explain and go into detail relative to mitigation strategies that are not an outright ban, because we can coexist with these products even in very dense urban environments safely and effectively, and in ways that won't compromise their utility. So we need to have a cooperative relationship whereby we help you understand the nature of the problem and what constructive ways can be implemented to minimize and mitigate the issue that you're trying to address. But again, an outright ban would be tragic in the sense that you're precluding a wide swath of society from what can be a very efficient, effective, clean transportation modality, and we don't want to do that. We need it desperately, and we can address the problems both from a procedural standpoint. We're working hard to address it from a technological standpoint. There will come a day when we don't have to worry about these things, but in the meantime, we just need to be careful.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yet again, we appreciate Mike Fritz for being here. We appreciate you making yourself available to city councils to help them craft good regulation. giving information to customers so that they can make good choices. Thank you. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. You've got my phone number.
Absolutely.
So,
We do.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.